Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Make you wanna holler, hidey-ho. Burns your tummy, don't you know? Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug.
All right, this is SFBarkast, and I am Jeff Cleary.
I'm Andrew Louder.
And Andrew, where are we today?
We're at the MissionHillSaloon.
MissionHillSaloon. What makes a bar a saloon and not a bar?
I guess the old-timey Western attitude.
Is there like panning for gold in the corner?
I think they have to have a certain amount of sarsaparilla on tap.
You and I were just here, and we were watching an ad for some like old-timey like train like place that you can bring your kids, and I was just joking that like if you want to know if a kid wants to do something, just ask yourself, is there a video game equivalent to this? And if there isn't, they don't want to go. Because you'd be like, hey, do you want to go ride the trains and pan for gold? It's like, he's like, fuck no, Dad.
There's no Call of Duty riding a train.
Yeah. What's the opposite of doing that? That's what I want to do.
Exactly. Look here, Pops.
Shut up, old man. So this place used to be called what?
Well, actually, like, interesting story. Funny that you bring it up. But
I knew we'd get around to it eventually.
This place is a rare example of reverse gentrification, like that's happened. And this is in Potrero Hill. It's like basically corner of 18th and Potrero.
Yeah, it's officially Mariposa and Potrero.
Okay. Oh, you're
which
probably
is like
right.
this small little street.
Yeah.
And wedged in between like 18th and 19th.
Right. But yeah, so this place a while ago used to be called Sadie's Flying Elephant.
Right. And it was opened by the old bartender from the Albion bar.
Right. Now the Delirium.
The Delirium.
Right. So yeah, there's all kinds of like crazy shutdowns and openings in this story. But like so, yeah, so the guy from the Albion opens up Sadie's Flying Elephant. That lasts for a while. Eventually, it becomes the MissionHillSaloon, and then I think it's maybe a year and a half or so ago, the sort of team of investors that owns the bar Dear Mom on what is that, 16th and Harrison or something, or 16th and Folsom?
Folsom, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
So that team buys this place.
No, you're right. It's Harrison.
Is it? Okay. So that team buys this place up. And changes it to the the regrettable love life of Evelyn Lee, or the
now what is that? What is that reference to? It was called the regrettable love life of Evelyn Lee. Now,
yeah.
Isn't Evelyn Lee a local news reporter? Not a news reporter, but she's an anchor woman, right?
Oh, is she?
Yeah, I thought so.
I thought it was just some random person. But
that's the kind of stupid shit that those assholes over at Dear Mom would do.
Is it the unresolved love life of Evelyn Lee? I misspoke. But so they took over the place. Like, I guess they didn't. I mean, like, everyone was worried that obviously they were gonna like sort of like spit shine it up and like raise all the prices and like boot all the regulars out. And,
that's
like,
the plan.
Bring in the usual gang of hipster assholes, which is the business plan that's worked so well. But apparently, like, they weren't really counting on the residents of Potrero Hill being a little bit more resilient. And so no one really showed up to the Unresolved Love Life bar. The bartenders were kicked out. The regulars were sort of like shunned or whatever, and like eventually left. And it just never really took off. So I guess the proprietors of Evelyn Lee decided, okay, well, let's, since it's not going to become the asshole place that we wanted it to be, maybe we should just try to like get the locals back at least and like try to break even or something.
Yeah, let's try to like cut our losses here.
Exactly.
And get those rummies back in here. But at that point, they'd already pissed off all those people.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was like, hey, remember when we told you to like fuck off and find a ditch to sleep in? Yeah. Well, do you think you could come back to our bar? We'll comp you a couple drinks.
See them standing outside with like a Pabst Blue Ribbon bottle. Oh, you want this? Come on in. You want this, don't you? Come on in.
Leave like a trail of like an old Milwaukee to the door. But like, so anyway, like they tried to like sort of get the locals back, and I guess the locals sort of came back, but like not in any sort of like full force, and so it just really wasn't working out for the Evelyn Lee people. So they, I guess, like sold the bar to those very same regulars and fired bartenders that they'd gotten rid of, and now it's back to being the Mission Hill Saloon. Sorry.
I like the name Mission Hill Saloon too.
Yeah,
and you know what?
Certainly a little more catchy than Unresolved Love Life of Evelyn Lee.
It's so goddamn pretentious.
I know, it is.
That's like a bar. That's like if you took an Upper Playground T-shirt and turned it into a bar. That's what you would get.
The unwaxed mustache of Dr. McGillicuddy or something.
Yeah, exactly. But I walked in here, and the bartender his name is Andrew Jackson, and his nickname, of course, is the Prez.
It wasn't
Old Hickory.
Yeah, I was going to say his actual nickname was Old Hickory, wasn't it?
But he used to bartend over at the Kilowatt, and he bartended everywhere with the 500 Club as well.
Yeah, he's like long time bartender.
So I hope he's one of the people who bought the place, because
that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's I mean, like, and also, like, we were talking about, like, how this has been happening a lot in the Mission. Like, Dear Mom is just like the latest iteration of people coming in, slapping a coat of paint on the place, and then like jacking up all the prices and kicking out all the locals and bringing all the hipsters down. There's another place on 16th Street which is like that as well, and I went there to watch the Bruins Penguins game yesterday. And I swear to God, I did not, like, I've lived in that neighborhood for 17 years. I did not recognize anyone in there. It's just like, I'm like, are there buses bringing these people into this like local bar?
Well, there are, like, from Google, right? Those are like you see more Google buses these days in the Mission than you do Muni buses, practically. Like,
oh, absolutely. I have a friend staying with me from high school, and every once in a while we're walking around, we'll see this huge like purple bus that says like Google on the side or like Yahoo on the side.
NYU Violets.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, no, they just come up here and take people down to the peninsula and have them re-educated.
I know, that's like, it's funny. I was actually I was talking to my wife about this the other day, like how, like, like San Francisco is definitely like sort of on the way of to becoming like Manhattan, where you basically got this city that's no longer functions as a real city, but is just sort of this rich people playground, where half of the apartments are like remain like vacant for most of the year, and are just like people that are really super rich come in, spend a few weeks a year like going to the local bar to get their like clam chowder and a Red Bull, and then take off again, and like there's like something like, so a place like this is sort of like a great sign that that's not going to happen overnight and not easily.
The great thing about that story is that there's a happy ending, and like you know what, we kind of have to sort of bathe ourselves in that happy ending because it's happened so infrequently.
Right.
That you're like, okay, so here's a bar that survived, and they ended up like, even the owners didn't like burn it down for the fucking insurance money. They were good enough to like sell it back to like the locals, right? And now and
there's a lot of sort of lucky happenstance in that story too. I'm sure. I mean, like, I'm going off of the story by a friend of the show and former guest Kevin Montgomery a couple months ago, and like it's granted it's not the world's most in-depth piece on it, but there are like parts of the story that are very convenient and sort of happenstance, where it's like the guys from Dear Mom wanted to sell it back, but then also the regulars and the bartenders happen to have enough money to buy it from them, and it's like how often is that going to happen, where it's like, hey, you bunch of drunks, like give us $1 million, and they're like, yeah, sure, let me write you a check.
It's like an Adam Sandler film where we have to win the grand prize so we can save the bar.
Right.
So grandma doesn't get thrown out into the street.
Exactly.
So granddad doesn't have to drink beer on the street curb.
It's a very San Francisco thing if you think about it too, where it's like the quote unquote like drunks that got kicked out of like their favorite bar for all the upscale people also happen to have $1 million in their pocket, like to buy it if the opportunity happens. So it's like, it's a very San Francisco, like sort of everybody is semi-rich kind of environment.
Now that we're talking about this, I'd like to option the film rights to this story.
I think we definitely found the next Rob Schneider vehicle at the very least.
So when I came in here, I don't want any of our listeners to know too much about me, but once again, I have another week where my toilet doesn't work, right?
Oh, Jesus
At
Christ.
my apartment.
The ongoing saga.
The ongoing
you come
saga.
up with a theme song for this.
I think I should get started like a Kickstarter to sort of get this going.
Shit starter.
So when we came in here, I was like, oh, I gotta use the bathroom. So went back to the men's room, and this will be one of my criticisms of this place. There's like no door to the men's room.
Oh, God.
So, but there's like a urinal, and then there's like a toilet. And I'm like,
No magazine rack or anything?
yeah. Not to sound like I am so like a highbrow here.
Well, at this point, you're sort of a connoisseur of public
Well, yeah,
restrooms.
especially like private and clean ones.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can call me having a silver spoon in my mouth just because I don't want to like take a dump while the guy who's like throwing out the recycling is looking at me.
Exactly. You don't want to get like a fucking splashback from the urinal on your lap while you're taking a dump. It's like, hey,
My name's
could
not
you aim it to the right there, buddy?
my name's not Gatsby, but I at least like want to have a few like semblances of civilization.
Ooh, listen to you, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Ooh,
Why
Mr. doesn't want to shit in the woods.
don't you bring your own door next time?
So if that's something you might want to do, like this place would not be for you. Although
Exactly.
you could do what I did, is like there was like hardly anybody in here, so I just looked at the women's room, and like Eugene Merman said this: if you ever have a chance to use a ladies' room, just go ahead and do it because it's like a world of difference. It's like nice in there. There's like couches,
Right.
and like it's just kind of feels like you're an actual human being, not
There's like a nice little fountain in the middle of it, and like there's
Right.
like perfume being sprayed around.
It doesn't like remind you of standing behind a dumpster at a bus station, like in the men's room.
Like there's not actual rats like running around like the men's bathroom.
So I was gonna like come over and ask Andrew if I could use the ladies' room,
Right.
and I was like, there's nobody here. So I feel like if I went over and said, hey, can I use the ladies' room? Everyone would be like, of course. But
Right.
then when I didn't ask and I went in there, I was like, what if someone finds me? And they'd be like, this is uncalled for. Society has rules.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's not really like it's not against the law to use. I mean, but it's definitely like, if some lady that whose company you enjoy, or seems like a nice person comes in and like finds you pissing all over the seat or something, they probably won't be too thrilled with you. But
I had a friend who said, like, let's go to a lesbian bar and piss on the seat. I'm like, you asshole.
he had to specify later on. He's like, no, I meant in the bathroom. Like, why?
Yeah, you're right. If there was some, you don't want to be embarrassed. Like if you're with some lady that you're like actively pursuing, and you don't want her to like walk into the ladies' room and be like, "Whoa, did you have Indian last night? Jesus Christ!"
Like, little help? Pass me a roll of toilet paper there. But so, what do you think of this place?
I like this place. It's the thing is, like, you can tell that those Dear Mom people did a lot of the upgrades in it. I mean, they brought in a lot of like dark wood, and
It's funny, yeah, because it's like it's almost like if a high class place or like it's like the Dear Mom people bought the place, did like half of the upgrades, and then took off. Because it's like because it's
I mean, it kind of sounds like what
it's kind
happened.
of bare in a way, but like but it's kind of nice bare.
You know what, though, I will say it is a lot more comfortable than it used to be when it was like Sadie's Flying
Oh really?
Elephant.
I never was here when it was Sadie's. Like
When it was Sadie's, I mean, it's like they have a pool table in the back, but it was like, and like the bathrooms are out back, but it was all black inside. It was kind of looked like the old Albion,
okay,
and it was just like the place just like felt like a place that you would go to score heroin.
right.
And it's like everybody's kind of like just sloppy and.
It is amazing when you think about it, because like I didn't even really notice until now, but like most of the walls are either like red or white here, and like but I would still, like, if you'd asked me later on like what color were the walls or something like that, I probably would have said black or something like that. But it's so it has like a dark feel to it. But if everything actually was dark, like completely black, it would have that sort of like old Albion shitty like
There are a few
crimes
bars.
happen here kind of feel to it.
I mean, I don't pretend to know that much about interior design, but like there are a few bars that
No
you
homo.
okay, Roy here, but But yeah, there are a few like bars that are all black inside, and it just was really depressing. You know, I mean, it's kind of fun if you're already like out and like having a good time.
Right.
But like if you go to like the Knock Knock on like a Tuesday night when there's nobody there, and it's like all black, and people are just like nobody wants to talk to each other. You're just kind of like, ah, shit.
Well, and like the opposite end of the spectrum, like if you make a place too colorful, like all of a sudden you're at fucking Margaritaville or something like that. Yeah, and like
I heard somewhere that song, Margaritaville, is like the most lucrative song in history.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because they had they made a chain of restaurants.
Oh yeah, a chain of restaurants, a chain of like mixers, like
a chain of wallet chains.
Yeah, a chain of chains. You could never break the chains.
Chain of bike chains. Yeah, it's kind of sad, isn't it? Like,
I mean, but that's the thing. The funny thing is that I think like, and it wasn't a phase or anything like that. Actually, it was like a roommate that I had was sort of a parrot head.
Wait a minute. You're gonna have this is heavy confession time.
Yeah, I should save this for the end of the show, like the last thing you say or something. But it's like, so I've been to a couple like Jimmy Buffett concerts, and the type of person that goes to that show, and the hardcore parrot head Jimmy Buffett fan, I think those people, like, oddly enough, respect the fact that he's sold out completely. Like, he's managed to sell out without it affecting his fan base at all. Because the fans are like, yeah, I'm gonna sell out someday too. Like, I'm a car salesman. I want to sell out. I
want to make that green.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hopefully someday I'll come up with some bullshit like line of alcohol products and retire on a boat as well.
I wonder if they like even consider that, because I feel like you and I were very actively in the mid '90s conversation about like music selling out and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's because we listened to like indie rock in the 1995, and everybody was arguing about what bands were corporate and what bands weren't. I don't think there was a whole lot of like Jimmy Buffett fans going like, if he sells out, if he opens a chain of restaurants, like, I am off this fishing boat.
Man, like, you compare something like Cheeseburger in Paradise to Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes, like, you can tell his heart isn't in it anymore.
He's just a fucking robot at this point. He's like, what happened to all the meaning in his songs? No, but yeah, like, so they're not around like arguing about that. But at the same time, I'm sure a diehard Jimmy Buffett fan would be like, yeah, well, so what? He made a bunch of money and sold out. He still like fishes on his boat in Florida. He's the same old guy. He still sings shitty music that I like and pay to go see.
Well, hey, like I've noticed something, and that's that you're out of a beer, so we need to take a break.
It's time to get a beer.
All right.
So this is SFBarkast, and we will be back at the Mission Hill Saloon.
And all your friends are assholes, 'cause you've known them your whole life. And somebody told me you've got an asshole for a wife. Were you born an asshole, or did you work it your whole life? Either way, it worked out fine. You're an asshole tonight.
And we are back at the Mission Hill Saloon.
Hey.
This is SFBarkast. Andrew, you played the song and the songs that we're listening to right now. And then when you left me some credits on the jukebox, and I went over there, and some guy came up behind me, and he goes, "Do you know what the hell this is?" And I actually like didn't know it off the top of my head, and I was like, and he looked at the thing and said, "Oh, it's Ween." And I was like, "Oh yeah, if I couldn't remember it, you could have just asked that jackass over there. I know he played them."
I actually didn't play this song because like there was somebody that got in between my first round and this one. So like, I mean, I have no problem with Ween,
I was mistaken.
I would have taken credit for it.
You are not the jackass that played this.
If he asked me like, "What is this?" I would have been like, "It's shut up and listen to it. That's what it is."
This song is called "Shut Your Hole." I I saw the bartender. I was just reminded when I went up to get a beer. I was reminded I saw the bartender the other night. I was at Bender's, which is a great bar on South Van Ness and 19th.
I'm sure we'll do a cast from there at some point. Have to.
And actually, I had never been to this. They have it's sort of like 70s soft rock / punk karaoke night on Friday nights.
Okay.
And which sounds totally awesome. And it's run by the lovely Eileen.
Okay.
And I was there with a friend of mine who's really into karaoke. And of course, it's there's a girl there that is just totally my type, just this beautiful New York Jewish looking girl. And so she went up and sang a song, and she sang this total heavy show tunes thing, and she was super theatrical about it, which is kind of a turn off. But then afterwards, I went over to her and I was just telling her how great it was, and it was just that was fantastic and all this stuff. And then I realized she was there with some guy, so I was oh, I'll just go over and get a beer. And as soon as I got through telling her how great her song was, I walked over, and Andy, the bartender who's here, was at the Bender's, and I go, hey, how you doing, man? He goes, fuck, horrible after that fucking horrible song. And I just went, yeah, that sucked, didn't it?
A complete turnaround. You're that was awesome. Oh, I'm here with my boyfriend. You suck.
Boyfriend?
You're the worst singer alive.
I retract my earlier compliment.
I stand to gain nothing by praising your awfulness now.
Let's start our relationship on lies.
That's great. Well, hey, in current events right now, there is one thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was what's going on in Turkey. Have you seen any this protesting over? And this is the crazy thing: is that most of the big giant Twitter protests and everything like that, the Middle East spring and all that stuff has been over crazy living conditions or 40 years of dictatorship or something like that. And this was over a park that they wanted to turn into a mall.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, everybody's losing their shit. They wanted to remove a bunch of trees from a park. Right. And now people are burning down buildings.
Yeah, I mean, there was a picture that I saw of 40,000 people coming over the bridge into Istanbul to protest this thing. And it's in order to get Americans to protest it, something like that, you would have to change change the formula of Coke. And it's such a sad commentary.
You mean Coca-Cola?
Yeah. Actually, if you change the formula of cocaine, that would probably garner a very active and short protest.
Hey, the last time they changed the formula of cocaine, it became crack, and it went over pretty well. Pretty well indeed.
A lot of before that, experimented around with freebasing, and a lot of people seem to like that too. Richard Pryor didn't have any
when crack hit the scene, there was some guy who tried crack. He was you know what? I like old Coke.
I'm gonna start a campaign to get old Coke back.
Coke Classic.
His dealer's yeah, I can sell you that too. It didn't go anywhere.
You can get whatever you want.
All we did is add rubber cement to this to regular Coke.
I was reading something about the Turkey protests, and they, I think it's the prime minister or president, whatever they have over there, the king or ruler, exalted ruler,
sultan.
He was blaming the protests on some secular radicals.
Okay.
And I was just wait a minute, secular means non-religion.
Right.
So, how radical can those people be? You don't see atheists flying planes into buildings and stuff.
Right.
It's just oh yeah, that's the problem, is that people are not aligning themselves with religion, and
I could understand if the end result desired was to run the whole country or something like that. That'd be one thing. All they want to do is stop a Bed Bath and Beyond from going up. It's oh damn you secular people! You don't want you and your godless heathens that don't want to see us put in a Starbucks.
Right, exactly. Well, that's something my hat goes off to those protesters, because I feel we don't do enough of that. I mean, there is in some communities, there's always a organized resistance to large chains going in, especially in San Francisco. But I feel even in the comedy community, I feel like a lot of people get off kind of, not scot-free, but some comics will do like ads for like Walmart or something, and I know that they're not aligned with Walmart because I've seen them like perform at like anti-Walmart shows. But the thing is that you want to just be like, look, I understand. It's kind of like the we were talking about selling out again. Like it's like the Jimmy Buffett thing, but it's just like there's better way. I feel like there's better ways to, like someone like Alec Baldwin. That jackass is supposed to be a liberal, and he's doing ads for
Capital One,
and Jimmy Fallon as well. And you're just like, you know what?
It's like two people that like at this point have, have a large amount of money.
And the Jimmy Fallon stuff of Capital One, it's not funny at all.
No.
And he's just making like a fool of himself. So he comes across like looking, instead of like sort of like, adding to his integrity quotient because he's like going to be like the king of late night now. He's basically looking like a goddamn clown who will like dance for any amount of money, or a large amount of money.
Well, it's like, I mean,
you ever see David Letterman doing like stupid commercials with babies?
I would like to see that actually. But like, it's funny because like, and it's, I think like with comedians and stuff like that, they're almost like more likely to fall into that trap because like so many comedians like very few of them become famous right out of the gate. So like almost any like someone who came up through stand-up comedy, they suffered for a really long time, and so like and so they're really like they're really like excellent like picking for like advertising executives because it's like, hey, you can either go on the road for like 9 months and like make this amount of money, or we'll give it to you all at once for like a half a day's worth of work.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Like,
I still feel like I don't know, like there's not enough sort of criticism. Like, you know who I'm talking about? Like Maria Bamford did like that Walgreens commercial, like series of Walgreens commercials, and they
Target
were
actually, but
oh, it's a Target.
It was, but yeah.
Oh, it was Target. Okay.
Yeah. I just don't want to like. I don't want Walgreens to get all the credit.
I'm not. Actually, no. It wasn't Walmart.
No. It was Target.
It was definitely Target.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, I hear like the Sklar brothers and everything like talking about how fucking funny it was, but it's just like, there's all these like, grassroots like protests that keep like those big box stores out of communities.
Yeah.
And she's smart enough, and like, I understand. She like, you're a comic. You didn't get into it to make money. You didn't get into comedy to make money because like the chances were you weren't going to make money.
Right.
But I still kind of feel like people are like getting off without any criticism. I feel like we've gone from from like the mid '90s, like I was talking about with music, where everybody criticized everything that any artist did, to like nobody criticizing anything.
Yeah, like everyone just sort of has this attitude of like, well, everyone's just out to get theirs, and so like,
I got to get mine.
That person like just beat me to the punch, so like, good for them. And it's like, well, no, like what about some integrity? Like you don't have to be a complete like asshole about it and say like nobody could advertise anything or they're dead to me. But at the same time, it's like just at least put up a fight or pretend to put up a fight.
Yeah, or at least like listen to some old Bill Hicks about advertising. So what do you think of this bar that you already asked me about?
I like it. Like it's funny. I mean, as we were describing before, like it sort of looks like a work in progress, but at the same time, like I don't think it is. I mean, like I think this is how it's gonna stay.
Yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah, and which is great. Like because like I don't want it to become more. I don't want them to put reclaimed wood everywhere and and fuck it up. And make it, like all high class.
But you're right though.
It's nice.
This is a working project for the Dear Mom people, but it's not a working project for the people who own it now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is cool because they basically like it sort of looks like a place that was stopped mid-project and sort of represents what they did. Like in a way that can't really be recreated in a design.
And the other thing we should point out is that like there's not a whole lot of like watering hole dive bars around here.
Yeah.
And like we're on the west side of Potrero Hill,
Right.
And around here, there are some bars like Dear Mom and Il Parada and the Slow Club. But like down on like 20th Street, there's a bunch. But like for the most part, those are kind of shishi bars.
Yeah.
You know, like they're either parts of restaurants, like, you know, highfalutin restaurants,
Right.
or you know, just sort of like, you know, highbrow bars.
Right.
And this is like definitely like a dive bar, watering hole.
Is Bloom still around, or did they close?
I think Bloom's is still around. That's on
Okay.
the other side of Potrero.
Right.
And it's on, I think, Mariposa or 18th and like Pennsylvania or something like
Okay.
that. But
Because you do
that's
start to
that's
get a
good
little,
bar.
yeah, like once you get over Potrero Hill, then like it sort of turns back into like more neighborhoody, like watering hole type places. Whereas like, yeah, it's like once you get on the slope going towards the Mission, like, yeah, like real estate is, yeah, like pretty much like, yeah, so expensive to the point where if you're not charging $15 for a cocktail, you'll be bought out by some asshole who will.
This was like a $4 beer that I'm drinking. It's like something
Reasonable.
called a bluefin beer from San Diego, and Andrew was telling me that he's like, all of a sudden there's a bunch of like really good like San Diego breweries, and there was always Stone, but like I guess a bunch of smaller ones have like sprouted up and they're putting out like really good beer.
I mean, there's one called like I think it's like Lost Abbey or something like that, and I think they're San Diego. Like they might be San Diego.
Sounds like something's brewing in San Diego, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's funny because like you can with San Diego, it used to be San Diego was just like a way station to get to Tijuana. Like I mean, it was just like, you know, like,
and it was like a military town.
right. And it's like, well, now like with, you know, sort of like narco crime and everything like that, like I don't think like people go to Tijuana anymore because it's just, you know, like it's really dangerous. I mean, like, and like same thing with all those like sort of like California border towns. I guess that it's just all mass killings and stuff like that at this point. So like no one really goes there. So like you can sort of see where like San Diego would have to, or actually would like reap the benefits of that, where they'd be like, oh, you know what? There's all these people that want to like you know, drink beer, have fun. They used to go to Mexico, but now they'll just stick around here. And
But it was probably a tough transition for San Diego because they were saying like, well, like, you know, you're not just going to be like a stop on the way to Mexico now. Now you have to develop your own personality. And they were like, what? We never intended to do this.
we're just a bunch of old people. Like, what are we gonna do? They're like, all right, we'll get some young people to move in and like show you how to do it.
we surf and watch the sun go down. That's it. And we watch old like reruns of Three's Company. Is there any other like San Diego, like, you know, like virtually every like city has a show that takes
I don't think
place?
Three's Company was San Diego, though.
That was San Diego, wasn't it?
I thought that was Marina Del Rey, but like I could be wrong. Like,
Is that not
like
San
Los
Diego?
like which, yeah, like sort of like southwestern Los Angeles. I'm trying to think of like a San Diego show, and I can't. Like, I think it's just like too boring to be of
Riptide.
interest. Riptide. I don't know. Who knows where Riptide wasn't?
Well, you know,
Riptide in the Gulf or something?
You know
Like,
what? I got one.
What?
Jesus, Andrew, you're gonna punch yourself in the face.
WKRP in San Diego?
Simon and Simon.
Well, of course. Jesus Christ.
AJ and Rick Simon, they were brothers, and they solved mysteries. Or
Did they have a monkey or something? Or no,
that was
PJ.
Riptide.
Oh, okay, all right.
Wasn't Riptide have a monkey on a boat? What was the thing
At
with
some point, they all had a monkey, right?
What was the thing with like television and movie producers that are just like, okay, we got this great script, it's really funny. Where can we put a monkey in there? Where it's like Any Which Way But Loose or BJ and the Bear.
It's like there was just a surplus of monkeys lying around. They're like, I got this monkey in my office. Like, yeah, it's starting to stink. Like, could you guys like put this monkey in your show? Like, get him out of my fucking hands.
It's like there was probably like one writer in Hollywood, and his thing, he probably was like an average writer, but his big thing was like assigning like exotic pets to television characters. He's like, I'm the guy that gave Sonny Crockett a crocodile because his name is Crockett.
Like, right now I'm doing my magnum opus about a guy with a lizard that solves crimes.
Wasn't there like a Robert Blake show where he had like a bird on his shoulder?
Yeah, Beretta. Yeah.
Beretta?
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, okay, so like I never watched that show, but like I just can't imagine. You'd have to explain, if you explain to somebody, yeah, so there's this private investigator, he's a real tough guy, but he walks around with like a bird on his shoulder. You'd be like, that sounds like something David Lynch would come up with.
See, I'm not sure if he actually like had the bird on his shoulder like pirate style. I think it was just like I think it was a device that they used, like where if he needed to like come back to his like office and like and do some heavy plot exposition, he could talk to the parrot.
It was like a narrative device.
Yeah,
so he's
exactly.
like working it out. He's like,
right.
so he said he was down at the garage, but really he was down at the wharf. And the parrot
What do you
says,
think,
yeah,
Polly?
what do you think? Now you're on the right trail.
Parrot's like, man, did you look at the black guy? Like, oh yeah, of course.
That's the Boston version.
Racist parrot.
What was that show with Robert Urich?
Vegas?
Spencer for Hire.
Oh, Spencer for Hire. Okay.
And it was about a cop or a private investigator in Boston, and I never watched it, but I just assumed like if it was a real Boston like crime show, it'd be like, which black guy did this?
Well, wasn't like who played wasn't there a character called Hawk or something like that was on that show? That,
Yeah.
His sort of street smart buddy, like his Huggy Bear, if you will.
Yeah. When you said Hawk, I thought of like the
Andre Dawson.
no. It's even more embarrassing. There was a character on the old Buck Rogers for the 21st century. Wait,
Oh.
23rd century show?
25th century.
20, I don't know.
Who cares?
It was Gil Gerard and
Tweaky.
Tweaky and Dr. Theopolis, but like who's counting?
Exactly.
But there was a character like that came in like 2 years later where they're like, you know what, we need to spice up this whole like cast. How about a half hawk, half man space alien? And they're like, yeah, and then he was kind of like he was like a Vulcan like half hawk, where he would like say like very like reasonable things like, oh, I don't think you can make it, Buck Rogers.
Like how did that become a thing where like there's the sort of Hawk character in the Muppets that's like all like sort of like wise and everything like that. Like how did Hawk? I mean, like if you bred like a hawk and a person, he wouldn't be wise. He would probably be like much dumber than a regular human. He just like try to put together an interesting thought and then like ram his head into the ground trying to pick up a seed or something.
What's the thing? Like people like just assume that like every like bald eagle or every hawk is like really
noble.
patriotic, and like half of them want to bring down the false society.
I'm really surprised that Buck Rogers didn't go with the obvious, like putting in a monkey or something.
Whatever. Right, I think we're going too far off on like animals in like stupid comedies.
We should stop before we get into like Battlestar Galactica and the robot dog.
Oh right, the teddy bear that's a robot. Oh my god.
That was the worst. That was like it was like Alf but on 4 feet or something like that. It was like worthless.
Although I will say this about Battlestar Galactica. I watched it when I was a kid because I was into sci-fi, and it is the one shining instance where the reboot of it was like just infinitely better.
That's what I heard.
The original, and I'm sure that when they announced they were going to do, they're going to reboot like Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
There's one or two like nerds out there going like, well, go ahead and try.
You'll never do better than Lauren Green, but I'll be amused at your.
Richard Hatch is like turning in his grave or dumpster where he sleeps.
He's turning in his studio apartment.
You can try to get better than Dirk Benedict, but I don't know. And then of course, like the reboot is just it's a shame that they had to call it Battlestar Galactica,
right?
Because the old one is like dragging down the new one. Because if you go back and watch it, the old one, you're just like,
well, it's like I used to and we might as well call this episode the like full confession episode or something because I used to be into like Doctor Who and stuff like that and like and I haven't seen the show like in its like sort of modern like I saw like some of them maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, but but ever since then, more and more people are getting on board with like, oh, the new Doctor Who's are amazing, they're great, and but that's just a different show to me. I mean, I don't know why they had to call it the same thing and and do it because I can't really take that show seriously. If if they had just called it anything else, like fucking Mr. Who, or like an honorary doctorate Who, like I would be fine with it. But like calling it the same thing, it just automatically sort of like brings up cheesy memories. So like
the Doctor Who starring Roger Daltrey. That doesn't.
Doctorate of Fine Arts Who. DFA.
I think it's gotten a little bit better recently. I remember like 5 years ago, all I did is complain about how there are no original ideas in Hollywood, and like you hear these stories. Like I remember Sarah Silverman told some story about how she was doing a audition and somebody who worked for the production company like came in. This was like years ago. Came in and said, "You wouldn't believe it. We landed the rights to Battleship." And like she was like that stupid game that everybody played, like, and they're like, yeah. It's like, yeah, can't you just make a movie called Battle or
like,
Ship and
fucking gunboats
or something like that, and then you don't have to pay all the fucking Milton Bradley assholes. But people in Hollywood had such like a dedication, like we need a plugged-in audience for everything, so everything has to be a book.
But there's no plugged-in audience for that. There's nobody like playing Battleship going like, man, the second they make a movie about this, I'm seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I grew up with Battleship. I'm not gonna miss the fucking movie.
Look, if they ever make a movie about Parcheesi, I'll be the first goddamn person in line. No, you won't.
Yeah, well, it's like, and someone told me like the rights to the Candyland movie got bought, and I think the Chutes and Ladders movie got bought. It's just like, dude, like, is there nobody working in Hollywood like with an idea? This is like 5 years ago, and I feel like it's actually gotten better.
Right.
That like now there's some original screenplays out there.
Solitaire, the motion picture.
Coupon the movie.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Well, we should probably take a break.
All right. Yeah. Let's take a break.
Why not?
We will be back from the Mission Hill Saloon. All right, and we are back. This is SFBarkast.
Hello.
And we're at the Mission Hill Saloon.
Mission Hill Saloon in what did you call it? Is this Mariposa, Potrero Hill?
Yeah, Potrero Hill.
All right.
Andrew, when we come to these bars, we want to like kind of take in the local flavor.
Exactly, like immerse ourselves, become a local for a short period of time.
Because people love that when outsiders come in and pretend like they know everybody.
You lean into like one of the regulars and be like, "How can I be like you?
How about that local sports team? Hey, pal."
Hey, I'll have the usual, whatever that is.
I'll have what she's having.
And so you are having a cocktail that is one of their, I guess, their own creations.
Generally speaking, when I come into a bar and they have like a little, like a bright colored sign for something that looks like a bad idea, right. I just sort of steer clear of it. But because we were here, I was like, hey, let's like try this out. And
to me, like that sign was a throwback to like the Dr. Bombay's. Like where, because like that, their whole thing was like pixie piss, right? Like where it's like, hey, it's got a funny name and it'll screw you up and like you'll wind up in jail,
piss, yeah.
like you know.
Did you say pixie piss?
Pixie piss.
Yeah, okay, because pixie piss would also work in San Francisco. Anyway, let's get back to the drink. So, what is this called? It's called a Herosquirta.
Herosquirta, which I didn't totally get the name until I saw him make it. And basically, he just took a bottle of Herradura tequila and dumped it in a pint glass with a little bit of. Oh my
God!
We're supposed to save the taste test for later on. Basically, it's Herradura and Squirt.
Oh my!
And if you don't know what Squirt is, it's basically like white trash 7-Up, I think.
Yeah. Dude, I was in the Mauna Loa one time, and there was some guy in there who was from Oklahoma, and he was like, "Yeah, just put a little squirt in that." And the guy said, "What's squirt?" And this guy like lost his mind. Like, what? No one around here knows what squirt is?
Like the bartender starts to take his pants off. He's like, no, they sell it. It's a regular thing.
Well, you got to meet me in the men's room for that.
Well, there's like I know that like Smuggler's Cove, and a couple other tiki bars have like they've adopted this like Jamaican soda called Ting. That's basically the exact same stuff. I mean, like it's just it's like a grapefruit soda or something like that. So it's like it's a citrus-based soda. So.
What's it called? Ting?
Ting, T-I-N-G, like the Ting Tings, but only one of them.
Smuggler's Cove, eh?
Yeah, we'll probably have to try that place at some point too. Like
you should just have a sign that says Smuggler's Cove, no homo.
Now,
which is a good segue.
Exactly. So let's talk about Roy Hibbert.
Let's talk about people getting in trouble for saying stupid shit they heard on the internet like message boards. After like the last basketball game, this NBA player named Roy Hibbert,
center for the Indiana Pacers,
plays for the Indiana Pacers. They won their game, and someone asked him about how come he hasn't been able to give any like weak side defense down low. And in the press conference, he said, "Well, when I'm supposed to come around and help out when LeBron goes around his defender, but my guys got me totally stretched out down below." And then he goes, "No homo." And today, the big story is, in fact, when you were over the jukebox, I looked over at you, and they had the television on here, and it says breaking news: Roy Hibbert apologizes for his slur. But
is it really? I guess it really is a slur, isn't it? I was going to say, is it really? But it is.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I was trying to when you were over getting a drink, I was trying to think of a instance where you could say that and it would be okay.
Because that's the first thing you think of when you hear somebody say something is awful. Is like, how can I repurpose that for myself but not get in this much trouble?
Well, that's what I came up with. It's what if there was some paleontologist student or something like that when they found some bones, right, and he was trying to figure out if it was gorilla bones or Homo erectus,
right?
And he asked the lecturer, and the lecturer comes over and goes, "That bone's too big, no homo."
Oh, okay. Well, that's the proper context for that, and we're all scientists here, so let's just forget you ever said that.
He's like, "What? I'm an accredited scientist. I can say no homo all I want."
I went to school for 7 years so I could say that. Just so I could say that. I don't even like paleontology.
Also, I hate gay people.
Terrible bigot. But I really wanted to figure out a way to do it without getting in trouble.
I just love it so much.
Fantastic.
It's every once in a while you come across somebody who's trying to use the word faggot in a actual way.
Like the bundle of sticks.
Bundle of sticks, right? You're just knock it off. I know what you're doing. I used to say the most unlucky word in the English language has to be the word niggardly.
Right.
Because it has nothing to do with American race relations, but it sounds so close to something that you cannot say ever. You can't be, because you know what it means. It means being stingy, right?
Right.
So even if you were using it correctly, if you were at a bar, at a restaurant, and the check came, and you said really loud, "Hey, let's not all be niggardly with the tip." People will be like, "Ooh, ouch." He's like, "What? I'm a language major." White language.
They're like, "What? It's not like I made fun of Jewish people or anything." Geez, double play.
I love it.
So I'm pretty happy because the Champions League of European Soccer was last weekend, and we were in Las Vegas a while back, and just for the fuck of it, I put down $20 on Bayern Munich winning the Champions League, and they did. They came through.
Oh, so how much?
And
it
was
win?
It was a 4-1. So I guess I win $60 or
No, you get your money back, and then you get it's 4-1. So you get
I get so 80
you get your
on
20
top
back, and then if it's 4-1, you get you'll win $80.
Sweet. All right. Well, the thing is, I had to mail it in, so we'll see if the casino's good to their word. It says you can mail this in. I had to do it certified mail and send them a self-addressed stamped envelope, I was
when you
asking for an autographed picture of Gil Gerard or something.
Once again with the Buck Rogers. when you made the bet and you asked them, hey, look, I'm not going to be in Vegas when this is over, so can I mail it in? Was the guy like smiling or giggling? It's like, yeah, you can mail it in.
Here's the address. P.O. Box, go fuck yourself. Las Vegas, Nevada.
P.O. Box.
Don't worry, that's a real post office box. We used names instead of numbers here.
It's these guys around here, they're always joking.
We have a very funny post office.
I was at a bachelor party last weekend, and there were these two British guys there, so they made us watch that Champions League bullshit. And so I had picked, like, who were the teams that played? Like, it was like
German teams.
It was like Bayer Aspirin against like Kruder and Dorfmeister.
It was like Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich. Well, against Bayer Aspirin.
So I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm for Dortmund.
Okay.
So and then they lost.
Right.
And
good job.
And then the next day on Deadspin, somebody posted a video of like this flash mob at the airport when the team was coming back, and to
Dortmund or
the Dortmund. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know, they lost, but it was basically this flash mob like trying to cheer them up, and they had like, you know, these signs that say we're proud of you, and like they were doing all these dancing, and like it was all this like, you know, break dancing and stuff, and it was all totally choreographed really well, and the players for Dortmund.
Yeah.
They couldn't be less amused by it. I understand you lost the fucking game,
right?
But they were like, all these people were trying.
Do you have any idea how many endorsements I just lost?
It's like the look on their face. They were not getting into it. Not one of them was like smiling. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck those guys. They're just like, oh yeah, so you put a lot of work into trying to cheer us up, but how's that supposed to get me pussy?
I wonder if like that's sort of like a no-win situation for them, because like as many people as there would be that like would probably say like oh, like good for them for like smiling and like being happy about it. There'd probably be a bunch of like diehard asshole fans that are like, what are you guys smiling at? You guys fucking lost. Like you guys should be like, you know, off practicing or off killing yourself for losing.
Yeah. It's like my take is that they didn't have to like start breakdancing themselves. You know, but they could have at least like sort of smiled and kind of like, you know, they didn't have to like start doing somersaults, but they could have been like appreciated the fact that all these people like are trying to cheer them up and that they're really proud of them for going, because I think they overachieved. Am I right about this? Like they weren't, they weren't supposed to be that good.
Yeah, well, at least they're a good team and they've won like I guess like the German league title a couple of years, but yeah, it's like. It was supposed to be Barcelona and like Real Madrid playing, and like, but the German teams like kicked them both out.
So I was a fan of Dortmund.
Dortmund.
When they told me the two teams, I was like, I'll take the team with like the guys with the really short legs that play golf.
Like I'll take the guys dressed like bees. Black and yellow. Black and yellow.
Like, I was listening to I forget it. What's his name? He used to write for The Simpsons.
Dana Gould.
Yeah, I was listening to Dana Gould's podcast the other day, and he brought up a good point. He was like, the human race is the only species that ever tried to pull off a beard of bees.
There's not a lot of like mooses running around trying to like attach bees to their face.
It's like, well, maybe there'll be some paleontologist like student who's like, I found like evidence that Homo ardipithecus like actually in their spare time tried to wear a beard of bees.
Well, like I think like that pretty much applies to any like almost everything that like human beings do for like sort of sport and or fun. Is usually something like that, like is a contained version of something that will kill you. Like, you know, like there's no animals that are bungee jumping or anything either. It's like It's like human beings love to take something that like just on the surface of it looks as dumb as possible, like the opposite of the survival instinct, and then working some way around it to cheat it. So it's like, yeah, I bet I can like. Those things that sting you and like and make your face swell up and everything like that. I'm gonna put like 50 of them on my face.
I wonder if it's like all that stuff is a. They say there's like a daredevil sort of gene, but I think like a lot of that comes out of like boredom.
Oh, totally, yeah.
You know, where it's just like like just there's not a whole lot of people living in the slums of Sao Paulo who are like, yeah, I'd like to go bungee jumping sometime. Right. It's like, because they're like, my life, I want my life to be less exciting.
Yeah, exactly. On second thought, for a daredevil activity, I think I'll just walk home.
Here's something daredevil. Maybe I can order some food and not end up like puking it up later.
Maybe I can not get hit by a stray bullet from some drug robbery today.
You know what a microwave is? By the way, you know what a microwave is? It's supposedly one of the things.
Johnson?
You know why they called him the microwave?
Why?
Because he heats up fast. No, but this is something that they used to do in Sao Paulo ghettos. Like the drug dealers, if they wanted to like kill somebody, they would throw somebody in. They would like stack a bunch of tires and throw somebody in the middle of like the tires and light the tires on fire. And they called it a microwave.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
So that's I like to see that kind of ingenuity in your killing. Like, it's so easy to just shoot somebody in the head.
Exactly.
It's like, that took some actual thinking. Somebody sketched that out on a cocktail napkin.
You know the Brazilian
person here.
Yeah, you know the Brazilian drug lord who's just like, you know what? We've been doing a lot of shooting people in the head, and I just feel like we're getting a reputation for being uncreative.
I am fucking bored.
So we're not leaving this room until we come up with a new, interesting way to kill our enemies.
If I see another guy's brains splatter all over the wall after they've been shot in the head, I'm gonna fucking shoot myself in the head. So come up with something that's interesting to look at.
I'll shoot myself in the head, so then you can see all live through how bored I am. Because yawn.
See if is there a way we can kill someone with a Christmas tree or something like that? Because that would be
symbolism is in this year when it comes to killing our enemies. All right, you want to take a break?
Sure, why not?
All right, let's take a break. This is SFBarkast.
Mission Hill Saloon.
Mission Hill. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention Mission Hill.
Yeah.
There was a great show called Mission Hill.
Yeah, like an animated show, right?
Yeah, the animated show. It was Brian Posehn, and it came out in the 90s, and it kind of predated all of that Adult Swim stuff.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic because I heard it was kind of based on two hipster neighborhoods.
Right.
Like the Mission in San Francisco, and was it Government Hill in Seattle?
Oh, Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill.
Yeah. Capital idea.
Yeah, because it's kind of coming out of the grunge scene. It's a bunch of kids sitting around sitting to figure out what to do with their lives.
They're we need to do a show about truly worthless people in their 20s. Make it a mix of people in the Mission and Capitol Hill. Perfect.
Let's get Brian Posehn. Do you think he'll do it?
All right.
So we'll be back from Mission Hill Saloon.
Everyone can tell the way I am. I walk into a bar or someone's place of work, they're shit scared. They know I ain't no cop. They think I come to kill them. And I would. I'd kill anyone that crosses me or put them in the hospital. I don't mess around. You know what I mean? I'm a bad man.
All right, this is SFBarkast, and we are back at the Mission Hill Saloon.
Hey.
And before we end... Oh yeah, don't touch that.
The bartender's trying to take Jeff's squirt and tequila drink, and he will have none of it.
Remember that thing that you brought me and said, "Oh, you're never gonna finish that. I'm almost done with it." And you're like, "This is mostly tequila." And then the bartender came over and said, "Are you done with this?" And I almost took his arm off.
He said, "You know what's at the bottom of this glass? Jail."
I love that guy, but I'll spread his head across a rock before I let him take my drink. So we're gonna wrap up, but we have a special guest here, Paul Abrego, who I went to. With the high
I'm the
school
only
fans.
one. I'm the only one.
Oh, yeah. And we have a special audience member, Marty.
Hey!
And some girl.
I'm clapping for myself.
Some random girl.
Random chicks here.
Like a superhero. Random chick.
Random chick would be a good superhero. So Paul, like when are you leaving San Francisco tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning.
Okay,
not
so
too early, but
when's the last time you were in San Francisco? And you and I went to high school together in Massachusetts.
That's correct.
And so when was the last time you were in San Francisco?
Take your time.
Are you talking about layovers?
Yeah, it's not like it's radio or anything, Paul.
Layovers? Never.
Yeah, you know what?
Never really. Never.
Dead air is actually
Yeah,
what we're known for.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, take two, Paul. This time with more feeling. And action.
Layovers don't count. Did you spend any time in San Francisco?
Just to see Neil Young Crazy Horse.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll forget about my first question. How did you like San Francisco the second time?
The best time this time?
This time right
Yes.
now.
Killer.
Better than that layover you had.
Yes, better than the layover I had.
So Jeff showed you a better time than Neil Young.
Yes,
So-
yes.
I don't
really
like to
remember
fucking
that
brag,
time either.
but yes.
Although I don't really remember this one either.
He just came back from Sausalito, so, you know.
And
he
what?
did a
Really
whole
mellow
tourist
right
trip.
now.
Oh, you went to Sausalito? Oh, you goddamn tourist.
I know, that was really
We should have
cool.
seen him in all the tchotchke stores going after it.
Did you buy a Alcatraz swimming team sweatshirt?
I should have. Damn, they didn't have those.
No, but
in my size.
I'm pretty sure he did buy the Ghirardelli chocolate in the cable car.
Oh yeah,
Really?
yeah. It was nicely expensive.
Well, you know, to be completely honest, that's one of the cool things about San Francisco is that, like, we all love to make fun of all, like, the tourist stuff. But, like, when somebody's in from out of town, it's kind of cool to ride the cable cars and go to Alcatraz and have gay sex.
Yeah, why not?
You know, stuff I never do.
That's true. Here, here. It's gay sex.
I can't wait for my mom to come out here. So what do you think of this bar, Paul? Marty, what do you think of this bar? You ever been here?
I have not,
Utterly
sir.
nondescript.
It's a blank canvas. You can put whatever you want onto it.
You know,
Which includes vomit, but not.
Yeah, right.
I think if I lived on this block, I would love this bar.
Yes, exactly. That's what we were saying. There's not a
This
whole
is
lot
a
of like
neighborhood
neighborhood
bar.
bars here,
True.
but it's
This is cider. I'm sold.
they have cider. They have cider
Not
and they
just any
have
cider, they've got Crispin.
And your tequila thing that
stuff.
you were going to kill the bartender who took away?
yeah. It's actually really good.
It's
Yeah,
called something squirt. It's like,
it's a Hera Squirt, I think.
But Herradura tequila mostly, and then squirt.
Generally speaking, I'm not a tequila guy,
Did you just say tequila and squirt?
Yes.
Okay, I
that's-
thought that's what I heard. Okay.
and Marty, don't take that out of context in any way.
No, not like we're in San Francisco or anything.
Actually, you know what? This is an interesting story. Probably not. The first time I ever drank tequila was with you in college.
Good lord.
And I remember you saying, "Oh, well, we used to have this horrible like self-abusive night called Pint Night, where we all like drank, and one person would bring a bottle, and we'd drink until the bottle's gone. And you brought tequila, and I was like, oh, I don't think I've ever had tequila growing up in New England. And that night, my introduction to tequila, I was like inside out.
Yeah, I think I have some memory of you throwing around a plastic trash can at anybody that came into the room.
No, I remember I had like dry heaves in my bunk bed, and my college roommate threw the metal trash can into the bed and just like hit me on the head, and I was just like the worst thing imaginable.
So
And
what I'm taking from this is that they don't have tequila in New England.
Well, Paul
What kind
might
of-
have had
Mexican,
tequila
so
because
it's
he's
all right.
Mexican.
Yeah.
But you know,
I
and
was
he
gonna say, what-
kept that hidden really well.
Yeah, I did.
Everybody thought he was Portuguese.
It's kind of like
grew up in a Portuguese
So
town.
wherever they
I just
do
went
have
with it.
tequila, you found it.
Did you have?
I didn't want any racism.
Don't worry.
I didn't want to deal with any racism.
We've already covered all that.
I'm sure in Taunton it was probably you're like, oh, tequila? That's not for white
I don't
people.
think I can live in a world like that.
Not enough for white
I
people.
just don't know if I can
Marty,
live in
you
a world
from
like
out here?
Oh yeah.
from California.
Born and raised, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So you know all about tequila. I didn't have the tequila gene. Probably my ancestors in Ireland didn't drink a whole lot of tequila.
I don't think so. Eat a lot of burritos or anything like that. Like,
I don't know. In a world where there's no tequila. I mean, I can't imagine.
It's like a Will Smith movie.
Yeah, exactly. After tequila.
it's easy though. In Ireland, they just replace.
Over the age of 30, if you ask me.
No?
Really?
Tequila.
I am breaking that stereotype right now.
There you go. Do it.
Enjoying
Make
it.
it happen.
So what do you have? A tequila
That's
lemonade?
history.
What is that? I know you already
Tequila
covered
squirt,
it. Oh, right. That's what you were just talking
which is
about.
like
San
also
Francisco treat.
it's like one of those things that like when you hear a term like that, it's probably in prison it means something different.
Yeah, sure it does.
Wow.
I think it does out here too, but I don't know.
Well,
Not sure.
it seems like one of those drinks that, like, definitely came out of like some drunken night. Like some guy said, like, well, we're out of everything else except like
No, you know what
this case of shitty squirt.
Right,
you know, like-
exactly.
No, you know what I think it is that they made this sign, they put it on the bar, and they were like, hey, you know what?
see
You know
what
what would be
asshole's
really
gonna
funny?
order this.
Yeah, like
Let's see what Dick's gonna drink
yeah.
this.
Let's see if
charge
someone's
$7 for
stupid
it.
enough to
You
pay
He
want
likes
$7.
it. Hey,
You
Mikey.
want it.
Exactly. And then it's men's room time.
All right, so we all done with the Mission Hill Saloon.
All right, I think we're done with the Mission Hill Saloon.
On to the next one.
We're gonna go. Yeah,
Tune in next week.
Oh,
Find
tune in
out.
next one. Oh,
I've
I thought
enjoyed
it
my
was
time
it's
in
not
San
oh,
Francisco.
we only do one.
What's that?
We only do one an episode. We don't
St.
do
Patrick's,
yeah.
St.
Do
Patrick's Day
we
we
get
did
to
6.
recap
That was
this
a
time?
mess.
Sarah? Do you feel the need to recap your?
If I
so
could,
tell me.
I might have
What was
some
your-
recall that comes back after over a course of time because there are certain gaps of memory that have been lost this week. But
I
I
feel
may
like-
get it back.
I would like to ask Paul what his favorite memory of like coming out to San Francisco and hanging out with me is. But I feel like whatever his answer would be, it would just be like that sort of like sound where they block out what someone's saying. And then I did, and he didn't charge me for it.
See, I would ask him, but I think that's between him and his therapist. I think like 3 or 4 years from now, he'll get some like sense memory back of what happened.
I
This
just
is
want
my
to.
therapist, guys.
Yeah, there you go. And I want to commend you on your ability to stay standing.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say that much. Like I'm a total pussy. Like I go out and like stay out all night, but I have to like sleep in next day if I do that. And Paul, you're like up at the crack of dawn,
Yeah, that's
smoking the crack of pipe.
Smoking the crack of pipe.
Pounding on the bar door at 6 a.m.
Hey, it's a lifestyle. It works. I'm not looking to be 90 years old. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't worry, that's not an option, dude.
Those- you didn't want those last 10 years anyway.
You ever think like if there was a God, and when he's watching you,
Yeah, right,
and you
right,
say
right.
that, and you'd be like, that was an empty goddamn threat. Like you'd be lucky to make it at 50. You're like, oh yeah, I don't want to live to be 90. It's like, don't worry about it.
Took care of that like 20 years ago.
You think somewhere
How
there's a
it's
mystic
falling,
counter that has your life when you're first born? You have the ability to make it to 120, and just as the dumb shit you do, it just counts down.
No,
that's it.
119, and then finally, when you're having your 45th beer that week, it's just like down to 69, and then it goes down to 43.
No, I have the opposite effect where I think that like if I ever like tried to be like super healthy, I'd like cross the street and get run over by a bus.
Exactly.
You know, and
Look at somebody like Jim Fix. Like, writes a book on running. All he does is run. Biggest health nut in the world, drops dead of a heart attack.
And then you've got like the Iggy Pops that. What was in that heroin? Formaldehyde, you know.
yeah, or like
Jesus.
Keith Richards.
I was gonna
Like,
say,
the closest thing that like Keith Richards did every drug on the planet. The closest thing to ever killing him was a fucking coconut. Remember, he was like in a hammock in like fucking South Pacific, and a coconut fell on his head, and his like brain hemorrhaged, and they had to like take him to the hospital. And they're like, "Oh, this could be it for Keith Richards." I'm like, "Really? That's how you're gonna go out?"
Took out by a coconut. And fucking Iggy Pop, didn't he just celebrate his 180th birthday the other day? I mean, I swear to God. This guy's indestructible. Those are two people.
My theory on Keith Richards is that there were rumors that, Mick Jagger sold his soul, but so that means that Keith can't die no matter what. Now he knows. Like, he tried. He probably shot himself a few times, but he fucking can't die until, Mick goes first. So he's just like, all right, what the fuck? It doesn't matter.
Well, this is my thing about longevity, is that I feel like if you live to be 100, okay, you will have grad students knocking down your door, interviewing you, trying to find out what your diet was, what your secret was to like living to this ripe old age. Now, how come we're not doing the same thing for Keith Richards? Because he seems to be like totally indestructible, but like nobody wants to do any like scientific examination into
they will. Yeah.
It would be fantastic if Mick Jagger's like final act, like before he dies, is to shoot Keith Richards in the head. Like, this is his last breath.
I release you.
I used to fuck my girlfriend back in 1952.
They've got vials of Richard's blood somewhere in some fucking
bunker under the ground.
Science laboratory. Yeah, exactly, in some bunker somewhere. And they're just keeping it for the the coming of the apocalypse.
Yeah, for the alien invasion.
The first test,
just like vaccinate.
they had in a petri dish with a hot lighter and like the thing.
Exactly.
Rich guy
Unleash a race of super soldiers.
All right, let's wrap this up.
right.
Okay, so this is SFBarkast, and we are signing off from
Mission Hill Saloon.
Mission Hill Saloon. I'm Jeff Cleary.
I'm Andrew Louder.
And we'll see you next time.
Adios.